Hi, it's Colin Cowherd. I started The Volume to bring you some of the most authentic voices in sports. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks.
That was a good old-fashioned butt kicking. And, you know, there are a million things for us to get into in terms of how something like this could go this wrong. To me, the overtop story for this type of butt kicking is the obvious difference in talent between the two teams. You know, I trust LeBron James and I trust Anthony Davis to hang tight with any duo in the league. I personally think LeBron is still better than Giannis at this point in his career. Some people will disagree with me, but regardless, the duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you should feel comfortable with that matchup against any duo in the league, including Giannis and Chris Middleton, or Kevin Durant and James Harden, or Steph Curry and Draymond Green, or any duo that you run into. That's how good Anthony Davis is, and obviously we all know how good LeBron James is. But you know, what stood out to me so much as I was watching that game, as you go down the rest of the roster, there's a massive difference between the two teams. You know, you get to Jrue Holiday, and Jrue Holiday is many, many times better than Russell Westbrook. It's kind of insulting to even include Russell Westbrook's name in a conversation with Jrue Holiday. That's how much of a chasm exists between those two guys. And then you look at the front court, and you're looking at Bobby Portis, and he's not even their starting center. He's a fill-in for Brook Lopez because he's hurt, and he's significantly better than Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee or Carmelo Anthony or anybody else that the Lakers use to fill in those front court minutes. Then you start looking on the wing, and the Lakers have some interesting wings, right? Like Malik Monk has been a win for the front office this offseason, but he's kind of like a one-way player. He gives away a lot of what he gets on the offensive end on the defensive end of the floor. And, you know, and you've got these young, exciting players like Stanley Johnson and Austin Reeves, but the reality is Pat Connaughton and Grayson Allen and Dante DiVincenzo, those are better two-way players. They're bigger and more athletic, and they can actually fulfill their responsibilities on the defensive end. They're good at doing what the Bucks need them to do on offense. I mean, Grayson Allen went on like a solo run there in the first half where he's getting into the lane, making floaters, finishing around the basket. There's a huge difference in the talent level down the roster. And that's where the Russell Westbrook trade becomes such a disaster. And I'm not even talking about Russ as a player, but just the talent that was lost as part of that deal. Because the Lakers used to have those guys. They used to have, you know, KCP, like a really good two-way guard at the shooting guard position. Great lock and trail defender, awesome attacking closeouts, hit a ton of big shots for the Lakers in the bubble, can hold his own in isolation possessions as a defender. You looked at Kyle Kuzma, just this huge forward who towards the end of his Lakers tenure had become a great defensive player and a great rebounder, who also had the ability on not just on nights when a star was out to lean on him significantly offensively, but he could have huge scoring nights alongside LeBron and AD. And then Alex Caruso, like we're looking at this Laker trade deadline and you're sitting there thinking, man, we would love to have a swing guard / forward that's between 6'5" and 6'8", who can guard everybody and can at least hold their own on the offensive end of the floor. That was Alex Caruso. That's what he brought to this team. And the unfortunate thing there is, you know, there's a debate there. Would you rather have quality role players or a superstar? We talked about that last night with James Harden, and I was talking about how you have to cash those things in for a James Harden. When we got to the 2019 offseason and you were thinking about, hey, do we want Kawhi Leonard or do we want all these role players? It was obvious that you wanted Kawhi Leonard because that's Kawhi freaking Leonard. Like, obviously, he's going to be able to do so much on the court that it's going to justify what you're trading off in that deal. And this Russell Westbrook trade completely gutted this roster of talent. You know, the Alex Caruso thing is commonly portrayed as just a budget non-signing. Like, let him go to save money on the salary, on the luxury tax. But as we know now, if you look at the totality of everything surrounding the Russell Westbrook trade, they brought in so much salary in the form of Russ's $40+ million salary that was a big part of why they had to let Alex Caruso go. And it's really unfortunate because now the task that lays in front of the Lakers is significantly more difficult. Can the Lakers win without as much talent as their opponent? Yeah, that happens in NBA history, but it requires that your stars are significantly better than what's on the other team. You cannot overcome that type of talent advantage unless your stars are just absolute world beaters. And now that's what they need to be. Regardless of what happens at this deadline, whether or not they can get a legitimate wing to put along the side of them or multiple wings, no matter what, we know now, looking at this team juxtaposed with the teams towards the top, that LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to have to put on a performance for the ages in order for this team to have any legitimate chance to win the title. And that's unfortunate because this was self-inflicted. Here in a minute, we're going to talk a little bit about why the Bucks are so much better, not just in terms of talent, just in what they do functionally as a basketball team, but a huge part of it is continuity. The core pieces of the Bucks are still there from years ago. And so there's a culture that exists and that permeates down the roster to everybody. And even the new guys that come in kind of take on that culture. The Lakers won a championship in 2020 and basically turned over the entire roster. So much so that it's not even recognizable compared to the identity and the types of personalities and the types of competitive nature that was on that team. Think about how crazy that is. That you could have a LeBron James and Anthony Davis team that is still a LeBron James and Anthony Davis team, but just a year and a half removed and completely and utterly different because of how much you swapped out around them. And it's funny because there's a classic saying, you don't fix something that isn't broke. And the Lakers fixed something that wasn't broke. And in the process, trashed their best chance to make another run with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. It's really unfortunate. Now, the question becomes, how do you move forward from here, right? Because you don't want to have a defeatist attitude, certainly not within the locker room. You can't just be like, oh, well, the Bucks are better, we're going to lose. Oh, the Suns are better, we can't compete with them, might as well just call it. So I look at it from two fronts. The first front is the trade deadline, obviously. You have to find a way to slot guys better. Right now, the Lakers' third best player is probably Malik Monk or Russell Westbrook, depending on who you ask. You need to get somebody better than those guys into one of those slots so that you slot everybody down. You want your role players to be competing with the lesser role players on the other team. And the best way to do that is to bring in just 2 or 3 good NBA starter level wings that can come in and move guys down the roster. That may not even be possible. That's how dire this situation is. But that has to be the goal throughout the next week. Find some way to bring a little bit more talent in so that you don't have a situation like what you had tonight against the Bucks. The other half of it is just simply becoming better at basketball. And I'm not talking about skills or talent. I'm talking about the things that basketball teams do to win games. So, for instance, Milwaukee, you watch them tonight. They flow in and out of their offense so easily. It just looks natural. It looks like they've been playing together forever. The actions that they run are all crisp and quick. They run them early in the shot clock. They don't find themselves in late clock situations where some guy has to isolate. It's very organized. Then you look on the defensive end of the floor, and they're always in the right spot. Their rotations are sharp. They were doing a lot of switching early in the game, which is super interesting because that's not something that this team used to do. But the Milwaukee Bucks are an extremely well-run, extremely well-coached basketball team that has amazing habits, that plays the right way on a night-in and night-out basis. They don't have effort issues. Then you look over at the Lakers, and it's the exact opposite. They've struggled with effort throughout this entire season. To start the game again tonight, after they got absolutely destroyed by the New York Knicks in transition off to an 11-0 start, again tonight, they weren't getting back in transition to start the game. That's just effort. That's guys just not running. That's guys just not communicating with each other. about who their matchup is or where they're supposed to be on the floor. This is not a disciplined team. They're running a switching scheme a lot with their guys, similar to what Milwaukee's doing, but it looks sloppy. They lose guys all the time. When they do get switched onto a bigger guy, they don't try to get in front and box out. They just kind of stand behind the guy and watch him get an offensive rebound and put it back. All of those little details within the Lakers are broken. So the second part of this, aside from talent, obviously Rob Pelinka has a job here. Rob Pelinka's job is to try to bolster the talent on the roster. But for the guys in the locker room, they have to establish championship habits. And I can't believe I'm still saying this after 50-something games, but for whatever reason, that urgency just hasn't clicked with this group. Now, I have my theories about that. As I've said many times on the show before, I just don't think this concoction of players makes a ton of sense. Not in terms of their personalities, just in terms of what they do on the court. There's not the right mix for these guys to really buy into a scheme and try to execute it on a daily basis. But something has to be done on that front. Because the Lakers have fought injury problems all season. There have been issues with guys in and out of the lineups. It's hard to point at the standings and just say, oh, this team sucks, when LeBron's missed as many games as he has. Anthony Davis has missed as many games as he has. If I remember correctly, this is just the 18th game this season that LeBron and Anthony Davis both played. So there's some excuses on that front. But now you have your guys. The excuses are gone. Obviously, you'd like to tune up a little bit with some talent, but more or less, this is the core. In the big moments, it's probably going to be LeBron and AD. Russ probably. Malik Monk's going to be out there. It's going to be a Stanley Johnson or a Trevor Ariza or maybe one other wing. But this group of guys has to figure out how to develop those same habits that Milwaukee has. And it starts with a night like tonight. Like, you fight back. I've been sick of the fake comebacks with this Laker team. It's like that stupid Russell Westbrook meme with the calendar that talks about how he's the worst player of all time and then he's the best player of all time and then it's the dead face at the end. That's kind of been the Lakers story for within games all season long. Starting off horrible, then having this crazy fake comeback, and then it all falling apart at the end. But at least in that comeback, the Lakers can have some semblance of something to cling to as like, hey, here are the habits that we have to build. This is the way we have to come out to start the next game. For instance, I don't think it's a coincidence that these stupid fake comebacks keep happening with the young guys. They always happen with Reeves, Johnson, and Monk. Hey, read the room, Frank. Maybe that is your group that needs to start the game so that you can set that tone from the start and give your team that best chance to feel confident about themselves. The confidence was a huge issue tonight. Like I pointed out earlier, the Bucks are not that was the Bucks' very best punch. Now, the Lakers' best punch might not even be enough in any setting. We don't know that yet. That definitely was not the Lakers' best punch. They are not this bad compared to this team. But that's what they looked like tonight because the confidence wasn't there. Milwaukee came in playing extraordinarily confident, and everybody on the Lakers looked scared, except for maybe LeBron James and Austin Reeves on the entire roster. And so you have to establish those habits and get in a good groove so that you approach those games and you're the confident team. And maybe you can swing that pendulum in your favor so that you can throw your best punch and maybe they don't throw theirs and you have a chance to get a win. That's how you can beat a team that has more talent than you. So that needs to be the goal as we go down this 25-game stretch. Guys are healthy. Guys are in the lineup. Have to start building out those habits. Have to start mastering whatever Frank's scheme is that he chooses to use with this group of players, which has changed half dozen times this year. But hey, now you got all your guys. Now's the time to figure it out.